Me and my ex-girlfriend Kayla have two children, S, 8 male, and D, 15 female. We broke up 6 years ago, and we have 50-50 custody, and I pay her child support. I make $50K per year, and she gets about $1K per month. She has never worked, even before we had the kids. Me and my girlfriend Serenity have been together for 4 years, and both my kids love her. She's so sweet, incredibly smart, and so hardworking. She has her own business and makes $100K a year. Kayla, Serenity, and I all grew up extremely poor, and I got my new job 5 years ago so I can better provide for my kids, and I know the struggle. The problem is, we have a completely different lifestyle in our home than Kayla's home. We live a typical middle-class lifestyle, and Kayla lives how we used to live on government assistance, in a bad neighborhood, and uses public transportation. Serenity saved up for 6 months to buy a luxury Lexus SUV. She's always wanted one, and we shared my car while she was saving. She posted a video of the car on Instagram and the keys. My daughter sent Kayla the post, and she went off. She called me and told me how dare my girlfriend ride around comfortably when my children are living in the hood. She said my daughter cries sometimes when she gets back home because Serenity has luxury bags and clothes and makeup, but I don't buy that stuff for her. I told her I can't afford that stuff because I'm too busy putting the money in her college fund, and that unlike her, I don't just get handed money. She says I need to get a better job so I can pay more child support. I told her absolutely not. She called my mother, and my mother said I need to get a better job and do what's best for the kids. I can get a better paying job and work for Serenity, but I refuse to do so just so Kayla can have more of my money that I work hard for. I know my kids don't have the best lifestyle at their mom's, but if it's such an issue with Kayla, she should get a damn job like I did. She then went off on Facebook and made a post about how my girlfriend drives around in a luxury vehicle, but my daughter takes the bus to school. Everyone commented that I'm a piece of crap and I need a better job. Am I the a-hole for refusing to get a better job to pay more child support? Edit. A lot of you are wondering why Kayla does not have a job. She wants to be a stay-at-home mom, and from my understanding, she does odd jobs for cash. Not the a-hole. Since your ex-girlfriend has literally never worked, why are your kids concerned about your new girlfriend's car when they should be concerned that their mom isn't willing to work to help provide for them? I'd be singing a different tune if your ex was working full-time and struggling, but you've said that's not the case. Time for her to get a job. Not the a-hole. Your girlfriend is supplying her own financial needs, not you. $1K doesn't sound like a lot to some, but you split custody, so I think it's fair. If your ex wants her children to have a lifestyle similar to your girlfriend, she should get out there and make some money. Or forego the child support and you take them full-time. Then she can pay you. Not the a-hole. Serenity works hard. Kayla doesn't. She can complain all she wants about it not being fair, but that won't change anything. And she can say that you ought to provide better as often and as loudly as she likes. But it won't change that she should be providing better by actually working instead of just telling you what she thinks you ought to be doing. Sounds like she's about 3 years away from her child support dropping when your older child turns 18. Expect her to be complaining even louder once that happens. My 40 female mother died almost 2 years ago from cancer when she was 64. It was the most painful thing I have gone through in my life. My mother was my best friend, and there's not a single day I don't miss her. I don't think there ever will be. My mom and dad divorced when I was little, and my mother never remarried, but she had a long-term relationship of more than 10 years with a lovely man, now 59 years old, who stood by her side until the end and truly took care of her. I really appreciate all he did, from the bottom of my heart. Here's the thing, and my moral struggle that I would love perspective on. When my mom died, she didn't leave a will, and because they weren't married, legally half of the house they shared would be mine, as I'm the only daughter my mom had. However, the house has a huge debt, and the recommendation of my lawyer was to only accept the inheritance if we were going to sell the house. So I asked him, let's call him X, what he wanted to do, and told him that I didn't want any money, just to help him as he thought about his next steps. He asked me for time to think. I gave him around $10,000 to make sure he wouldn't struggle to pay for the mortgage while he decided, and told him to take his time. Fast forward 2 years. He has met a new woman, and I'm really glad for him. The moment he told me was also to tell me that his mother was very sick and he wanted to sell the house, so needed me to accept the inheritance so he could sell it. In the beginning, I told him I didn't want any money, but then my lawyer told me that I was being emotionally manipulated and that even if I didn't want the money, my mom would prefer that her half is saved for my daughter. 7 female, and some sort of trust fund. For reference, my mom loved her granddaughter more than anything in the world. So even when I personally don't want the money, I thought my lawyer could be right and that my mom would prefer for that money to go to her granddaughter when she is an adult instead of going to her ex-partner to buy a house with his new girlfriend. So I had the conversation with X about this, and he was very angry. He told me that he doesn't think my mom would have wanted this, that he needs the money, and that he doesn't care if that money is going to my daughter or to any NGO, that anything that is not giving him 100% is unfair. I told him from a legal perspective it's up to me to decide, but 1, I did tell him earlier that I didn't want any money, and I'd help him, before he had a new girlfriend, but still said it, and 2, he did take care of my mom when she was dying. However, I do believe my mother would have wanted to leave whatever little she had to my daughter. I don't need the money, but I want to honor my mother's memory. Am I doing the right thing? Not the a-hole. You've given him the benefit of your mother's money for the last 2 years, as a kindness for the loving relationship they shared when she was alive. Now he needs to pony up and face reality and move on. Let the lawyer handle him from here out, and stay far away. Legally, he owns half the house, or whatever it is, and you gave him $10,000 to afford the mortgage on it, which confirms your relationship into the house. Lawyer up. Not the a-hole. If your mom wanted him to have the whole house when she died, the title would have been as tenants in common, and he'd have inherited, or she'd have had to make a will with him inheriting the house. Without a will, the state decides. If no spouse, children, since you're the only child, she intended for you to have her assets, including her share of the house. Why didn't your lawyer suggest forcing a sale at the time, or charging him rent for the use of your half of the house? Instead, you gave him money instead of taking control of your inheritance. You were already too kind to this man and owe him nothing. Not the a-hole. I think during a time of grief, we sometimes say things hastily. I think your attorney is correct that he may have been playing on your sympathies. I think giving him half is fair. If they were married and your mom passed without a will, in my state, half would go to the spouse and half to the kids. I'm 28 female. My brother-in-law is 32 male, and my sister-in-law is 46 female. My brother-in-law is hands down one of the best people I know. He is a gentle giant with the biggest heart, who would take the shirt off his back to help you. 4 years ago, he was overtaken by grief after the passing of his daughter, aged 4, and unfortunately turned to bad habits to grieve. I do not have the financial capabilities to help him with rehab, but I make it work. I put a lot of our stuff up for sale, and with the help of the community, I was able to put him through rehab a little over a year and a half ago, and so far, he's doing great. He is home again now, and we make sure that we are there for him through the really hard days, his daughter's birthday, death day, and holidays. My sister-in-law, on the other hand, is a person who asks for handouts constantly and never returns the favor. Every time she knows I have money or got a bonus, she will say things like, "So what are you going to buy your favorite sister-in-law?" Or, "You can get me this since you have the money." She knows I'm currently in a really good position financially after landing a promotion with a significant pay raise 4 months ago. Now, here's the thing. My sister-in-law cried wolf too many times. Last year, she pulled the pity train on her Girl Scouts leaders. Her daughter is in the group, stating that she had mastitis or something, and they gave her a bunch of funds from the Girl Scouts bank account to help her, and it turns out she never even had it. She just used the money to buy a new sectional couch and electronics. This time around, she supposedly had a massive lump on her ovaries, and they're worried it may be cancerous, so she needs a biopsy and she can't afford it. Both her and her husband make damn good money, and she has health insurance. She calls and asks me if I can loan her $5,000 for the surgery startup, and I straight up said no. She asks why, and I told her because every year she comes up with a new medical problem and weasels money out of people and without proof, like paperwork. I don't believe her. She says I'm an a-hole for thinking she is lying, and since I helped pay for her brother's rehab, I should be more understanding because this is more serious, and he made his bed and should have laid in it, whereas she didn't do this to herself. The rest of the family thinks I'm out of line as well, except for my husband, who is on my side 100%. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Also, it is none of their business how much money you make or don't make. I would have a discussion with your spouse about you no longer wish to discuss your finances with them. They don't need to know this info. Not the a-hole. It's your money, your choice where it goes. And if she has repeatedly taken advantage of you when it sounds like she may not even need financial help, all the more reason to not give her more money. If you truly decide you want to help her in any way financially, tell her you'll pay a portion of the bill directly, but you won't give her the money. That way, you know she isn't lying about where the money is going because you made the payment with the hospital yourself. Not the a-hole. Wow, this has made me far more angry than anything else I've seen on here. In no way are you the a-hole. Your sister-in-law's behavior is disgusting. Faking illness to get cash? That's horrific. And as you've pointed out, if she's not crying wolf this time, then she has the means to pay for things herself. It's your choice what you spend your money on, and your family are out of line for trying to pressure you into giving your sister-in-law more money for something that may not even be true. I'm so glad your brother-in-law had been able to start the journey of recovery, and I hope he continues doing well. My stepdaughter, Cora, is a junior at a top U.S. college. Her mom and I, both 40s female, got married several years ago. Cora is a very smart girl who gets excellent grades. However, my marriage to my wife significantly reduced the amount of financial aid she was eligible for. Before our marriage, she was classified as low income and received full tuition plus room and board at her school. Once my income was factored in, that was pretty much gone, despite the fact that our marriage was new and her mom being low income had no money saved up for her college. This became a source of contention between us, and I admit that neither her nor my wife realized how much my added income would reduce her financial aid. I do feel partially responsible for her, so I agreed to contribute towards her college expenses, which is about $30,000 a year on our end. That includes her room and board, part of her tuition. She took out loans for the rest and was also able to get some financial aid from the school, and her spending money. Cora also works part-time during the school year and full-time during the summer. This year, though, she has been spending money on what I believe are non-essential things, such as multiple expensive gifts for her significant other, complex tattoos, regular restaurant trips, Starbucks runs, Uber Eats, despite having a meal plan, etc. The thing is, she hasn't even gone over budget relative to the amount we initially agreed upon, which we based on the average cost of school supplies according to the university. She just has less expenses for textbooks, school supplies, now that she finds most things online. And because she's a junior, she has less $300 to $400 hardbound textbooks to buy. She also got a well-paying student research job in the summer of 2019, so she was able to save up more money. Since her expenses have technically gone down, in my view, this means that the budget we originally agreed upon is no longer appropriate, and we should therefore give her a lot less money. My wife says that since she hasn't gone over budget, it would almost be like punishing her for earning more in the summer. I also feel my wife still feels extremely guilty for the fact that our marriage meant Cora no longer qualified for a lot of financial aid and needs-based scholarships despite having a low-income childhood and experiencing the difficulties associated with being poor. Cora is also the first person in my wife's family to attend college, so my wife is obviously very proud of her. She's a good kid. I just feel like she should be taught to budget her expenses better. Would I be the a-hole if I reduce her funding? I agreed to contribute to her education, not to fund the lifestyle she wishes to maintain for some reason. You're the a-hole. Clearly, she knows how to budget, as she hasn't gone over. I also agree with your wife that it would seem like a punishment for working hard over the summer. At my engineering internship, I made $20 an hour and put in a ton of overtime so that I could have more spending money during the semester. It kind of seems like you don't think she should have the lifestyle she can currently afford. You're the a-hole. She hasn't gone over budget, but you think she needs to learn to manage her budget better? And sometimes people do things for things other than necessity. Have you considered that maybe she goes out to eat because she's a college student who works part-time and might not have time to cook every night, for example? People need some fun time in addition to work and study time. She's very hardworking, but it kind of sounds like you want to punish her for daring to do anything unnecessary. You're the a-hole. Y'all should have thought about the fact that it would reduce her financial aid before you got married. You could have waited a few years. I would let it be. Like you said, she's a good kid and works hard, so why punish her? Those Starbucks and tattoos could be keeping her sane. Okay, so here's some backstory. When our kids were 3 months old, my son, and 6 months old, our daughter, we met, and a month or two later, we started dating, and in the following year we got married. My late wife died in childbirth, and her ex is no longer in the picture. Okay, so earlier today, my 54 male wife, 52 female, and I were discussing our kids' college fund. We have about $50,000 saved up for each of them, or so I thought. While we were discussing separate college funds from their grandparents and other relatives, she brought up the fact that she had another college fund for her daughter with about $30K in it. Well, to say I was shocked. Just to add, she has a job and makes a small amount, and we each have our own spending money per month that we're allowed to do so as we please. So I guess that's where she got the money from. I told her how come, and she said that since it's her bio daughter, she decided that she wanted to save up more for her. To me, that's entirely unfair. I thought she loved my son as her own and valued them equally, as she's been in his life as a motherly role for about 17 years. I told her that, and she said that it is her money to spend and that I shouldn't be mad. I decided that I wasn't going to stand by it and gave her two options. A, keep the fund for her daughter, but use her spending money to make an equal fund for our son. Pretty impossible, but fair in my opinion, which is why I'm giving her the second option. Or B, split the fund. She just huffed at me and went to our room, locked the door, and went to bed, which leaves us to where I am now. So am I the a-hole? Update. Thanks for the advice. I'm going to take $15K from my daughter's main fund and put it in my son's, and then I'll likely break it off with my wife. I know one thing shouldn't cause a divorce, but I can't stay with someone knowing they have favorites. Getting off. Will reply tomorrow. Edit. I would like to issue a sort of apology to my daughter. In the heat of the moment, I decided I would take the $46K I added to her fund away, which was wrong of me, and I would never really do that. I'm just going to take $15K from her fund to make them even. OP mentions below that of the $100,000, he put in $92,000 of his spending money. So this means his wife only contributed $8,000, plus squirreled away $30,000 for her daughter of her money. His wife is not innocent, and OP just wants fairness. Unpopular opinion, but not the a-hole. Okay, so if I get this right, the shared fund was provided by both of you. However, you put in $46K, and she only put in $4K because she doesn't earn well. Yet somehow she was able to put $30K in a separate fund only for her bio kid. If that's accurate, then not the a-hole. She is basically profiting off you. She is ensuring that her daughter has half of it, plus what she saved, $55K total, while your son only ends up with the $25K. Not only did she lie to you about her ability to pay towards the shared college fund, but she also hid the other fund from you all these years. I think removing all the money you put in and making it go towards your son's fund is fair. If you feel too bad about it, just withdraw $40K and leave $10K for the daughter. That way the funds are now equal. No offense, but what she did was a B move, clearly favoring her daughter over her son, which she has raised and known pretty much his whole life. If I were him, I'd feel devastated that my mother doesn't really consider me her son. Make sure if you move it that she can't access it. She has no right to be mad, and she needs to take a long, hard look at herself and realize how deceptive and cunning she has been all these years, while you were fair and provided for both children equally, as it should be.